Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Maxime Bernier, the founder and leader of the People's Party of Canada. You can contact him online at peoplespartyofcanada.ca. You can also follow Maxime on Twitter at Maxime Bernier. Maxime, welcome back to the Goddard Report.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be with you again.
What are you mad, Max, about today?
Oh my God, I'm mad about, the economic update that the finance minister did Monday. It's a disaster. More deficit, more debt, and they think that spending money that we don't have, it is a solution for more growth. But we all know that we cannot spend our way to prosperity. You need to produce, you need to reduce taxes without creating a deficit, and they're not responsible what they're doing in Ottawa right now. They will add on our debt couple of $1 billion, but at the end it will be our children, our grandchildren that will have to pay for that. So it is not responsible. And it won't, and it is not creating any wealth or growth in this country. So I'm mad about that today.
Are you upset or mildly interested that one of the things the Liberals have promised is increasing the personal exemption over 4 years to $15,000? Wasn't that one of your proposals, and wouldn't you have done it right away?
Yeah, first of all, it was one of our proposals to increase the personal exemption to $15,000 a year. But contrary to the Liberals, we said that we're going to do it after balancing the budget. Now, they're doing that, okay, but they're creating a deficit for that. So it's not fair and it's not responsible. My proposal during the campaign, our proposal at the People's Party, was to balance the budget in 2 years, and after that, implementing our tax reform, and with a flat tax on business at 10%, with only two flat rates for Canadians, one at 15% for people earning less than 100K, and for people earning more than $100,000, 25%. So that was our proposal, and increasing the personal exemption, like you just said, at $15,000 a year. But that's the good news that they're doing that. But the bad side is they're doing that by putting more money on our debt, and it's not the solution. So they must be responsible first and balancing the budget first, and after that, giving some tax break to Canadians. But what they're doing right now, it's the opposite. That's why we don't know when they will balance the budget. For them, as you remember, Justin Trudeau said that the budget balance itself, but it is not. We all know that. And so after a couple of years, that will be another $50, $60 billion that we're adding on our debt. And that's why I don't like their proposal.
One of the excuses the government gives, well, Canada's debt is much less than other G7 countries. Is that a good enough reason to run up a deficit?
No, it is not, because we know that all the G7 countries, they have a huge debt also. And I was reading a report by the World Bank, and they were saying that countries, G7 countries, had a huge debt, and it's a record debt. So maybe you're doing better, but everybody had a huge debt. So when we'll have a recession, we won't have any margin. it will be very difficult, and the federal government will have to take a very unpopular decision. So that's why, yes, if you look right now, we can compare ourselves with other G7 countries, but at the end, all the G7 countries, they have huge deficit and huge debt. So it's not a good comparison. We must fix our problem here, because we know that we'll have a recession a day. It won't be maybe this year, but after 10 years of growth, it's a cycle. And when the recession will hit, with huge deficit like that, it would be a mess at the federal level.
Could a federal election be called sooner than later because of the minority position of the government? And will the People's Party be ready for one?
Oh, yes, we will be. We were able in 1 year to create a new populist party in Canada, against the establishment, working for the people and with the people. And, but I must admit that we had only 1.6% of the vote. But, it took 20 years to the Green Party and 6 elections to have 1.6% of the vote. And we did all that in 1 year. So I can tell you, and we had 314 candidates all across the country. And I can tell you that, yes, we will be ready. Yes, we'll be there. Yes, we'll have a candidate in every riding. And I believe that our goal is to be ready in a year from now. At the end of this year, I hope that we'll have our candidates and we'll be ready, because we must be in election in 2 years from now. It can be a very short term for the Liberals, but we'll see. But our goal at the PPC is to be ready as soon as possible and to have our candidates as soon as possible. So at the end of this year, we may be able to nominate our candidate.
Are all the People's Party candidates going to run again in the next election? How many of the people that you had this time do you expect to be around?
But actually, right now, I'm calling our candidates, and that's what I'm doing. I'm in touch with them, and I can tell you that maybe at least 50% of them will stay, and we'll see. But other will do other things, and but I can tell you that we'll be able to have 338 candidates this time.
The next election in BC will be in 2021. The main parties in BC are center-left. Is the People's Party considering forming a provincial party to run in the BC election?
No, that's not our plan. We are concentrating our effort to work at the federal level. We are a political party at the federal government, working at the federal level. And so we don't spend any energy to try to create a People's Party, Provincial People's Party in BC or any other province. So we're not doing that. It's a federal party, and we have a platform that is for the federal government, and so that's not our goal to have a People's Party in every province.
How much influence is the United Nations having over Canada with regards to the climate change narrative?
A huge influence, because as you know, Canada signed the Paris Accord, and the Liberals, the Conservatives, all the Green and every political party in Ottawa believe in the Paris Accord. We are the only party who said we won't sign that. And if you sign the Paris Accord, you have to impose more regulations. You have to impose more taxes on Canadians, and we won't do that. We don't believe that there is a climate emergency. So that being said, yes, answering your question, the UN has a huge influence in Canada, and I must also add with the compact, as you know, the Liberals and the Trudeau government signed the migration compact, and so that will have an influence on our immigration policy also.
Is the climate change narrative being used to usher in the globalist New World Order and one world government?
But, when I'm looking at that, I believe in our country. I believe that our country is a sovereign country and an independent country. And yes, you are able as a sovereign country to sign free trade agreements, to sign treaties with other countries. But the most important is to keep your sovereignty. And I must admit that the UN, with the climate change and debate and the Paris Accord, their goal is to maybe not create a world government, but having more coordination between countries. Look a little bit what happened in Europe right now. You have Brexit, and I'm very happy that people voted for the Conservative Party over there, and and they will have Brexit because the European community has too much power. So people want to have back their sovereignty. And the UN, they're not a world government, but at the end, with all these conference and trying to working with civil servants in Canada and other countries and trying to push their agenda. And for me, it is a socialist agenda that the UN tried to implement in different countries.
Is it time to stand up to the climate change narrative?
I think it is. At least it is time to stand up against the climate change emergency. There is no emergency. And so, yes, the climate is changing. The climate always change. That's the normality when you speak about climate and weather changing, the change. And we don't have to panic for that. And so I think we must question, we must look, and I like what Patrick Moore.
Yes, Patrick Moore.
He's a scientist that is well known and said the same thing. There's no emergency, and we must not change our way of life because of that. There's a lot of factors, not only the CO2, but I'm not a scientist, and I know that there's a lot of factors that influence the climate, and all their prediction, it's computer based. So it's everything is depending on the data that you enter in the computer, and so that's why we must question all that and read what the scientists like Patrick Moore is saying about that.
We'll have more with Maxime Bernier right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Maxime Bernier. Maxime, President Trump talks about purging the deep state and draining the swamp in the U.S. Are you aware of Canada's deep state? And if you became prime minister, would you make it a priority to drain our swamp?
Sorry, a priority to what?
To drain the Canadian so-called swamp.
First of all, my priority right now is to be sure that Canadians understand the importance of individual freedom and personal responsibility. And my responsibility, I hope that I'm working very hard to be elected, and we'll see if we'll be in government at the next election. But I can tell you that we'll be able to elect some of our candidates, starting by myself as the leader. So what do we look for as a political party and a government? we will look forward to have a smaller government in Ottawa, a government that will interfere less in your day-to-day life, a government that will respect you, a government that will be able to lower tax after balancing the budget. So our way to govern in Canada must be to respect the Constitution. And right now, the federal government is not respecting the Constitution. The federal government is interfering in provincial jurisdiction. So my goal as a Prime Minister is to be sure that we respect the Constitution, be sure that we balance the budget, be sure that we are keeping our sovereignty as a country, and that's important. So that will be the first action that we must take.
What's the latest on the Warren Kinsella Gate operation, where he personally put together a campaign to call you all kinds of names and accuse you of things that I'm pretty sure you're not?
Yeah, so first of all, he worked with the Conservative Party of Canada. That's why I said the Conservative Party of Canada a year ago. It is a party that is morally and intellectually corrupt, and they try to discredit our party. And Kinsella said that, I was a racist, and it's all not true. I don't have to justify myself. But what we are doing right now, we are building our case, and I will meet Mr. Kinsella from the court for defamation, and that will start early next year.
Do you think that this kind of dirty slur underground politics has happened a lot in Canada and needs to be cleaned up?
Yeah, they did a campaign against us. When I'm saying us, against our candidates and the party, and that's not the way that Canadians want to deal with their politicians. I think they want to have politicians that will respect each other, that will tell the truth. But it's too bad the last campaign, the Conservative and the Liberal did that against us, because we were speaking about immigration, because we were speaking about fewer immigrants, and more economic immigrants, and having control of our immigration system like we had in the past. So that, when we speak about that, it's to promote our country and to be sure that people who are coming here respect our traditions, our values, the rule of law, the equality between men and women. So I think that's the role of the politician, to promote what they believe in and during a campaign, and not try to always lie about the other opponents. And I was too busy at the last campaign to speak about our platform, to explain our platform to Canadians. And we don't play that game. We don't try to pander to every special interest group. We are having policies that are good for all Canadians. We don't have time to play the smear politics and things like that. It's all about ideas, and it's too bad that the establishment and the two old political parties and the establishment in Canada, when they are in a campaign, for them, there's no limit at what they can do. But for us, we have 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And yes, we are respecting everybody, and I'm respecting my opponent, other leaders. But it's not always the case on the other side.
Andrew Scheer's sudden resignation from the Conservative Party, the circumstances around it, were you surprised?
No, I was not surprised. The pressure was very huge. The Conservative Party, their goal is to win an election. It's not to have a freer and a more prosperous country. It's to win. And Andrew Scheer said the Conservative Party is now a centrist, pragmatic political party. And yes, they're going to the center left to try to have more votes from the Liberals, but they were not successful at the last campaign. And Andrew Scheer did a couple of mistakes during the campaign, so I was not surprised. And now the establishment are looking for another candidate, and we'll see who will be the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. But I can tell you, it will be the same party with the same policies, and a centrist party who doesn't have the courage to speak about the real issues in our country: immigration, balancing the budget, cutting foreign aid, cutting corporate welfare, and all that. So that's why it's important for us to be there and to be very active, and we will be very active this year. And I'm taking time to build a party and traveling across the country. So we'll be ready for the next election with the new leader. For me, it will be the same intellectually and morally corrupt conservative party. And for me, they are not conservative anymore. They are not, because they don't fight for a smaller government in Ottawa. What they want to do, they want to be a good manager of a big government. And the goal is to be a good manager of a smaller government that will respect people, that will give more freedom to people. But that's not what the Conservative Party are looking for.
The Liberal government has just made a deal with SNC-Lavalin. SNC has pled guilty to one count of the several that they were charged with, and will pay a $280 million fine. Does this show that Jody Wilson-Raybould was right? They were trying to cook some kind of special deal for them?
Yeah, on that she was right, and I was the only politician who said no deals with a corrupt corporation. That must be the solution. There's no corporation above the law. The small one, the big one, the medium-sized one, the mom and dad, little corporation, everybody must be treated equally. And there's no corporation above the law. But what Trudeau is doing right now with that, and it's tried to give a privilege to SNC-Lavalin. And I was the only one at the time to say that no privilege to SNC-Lavalin. And I think if you want to be fair with everybody, that's the only solution.
Does the People's Party have a plan to overcome the media bias of not only mainstream media, but also some online conservative outlets?
No, we don't. We'll do our best. We believe in freedom, but we cannot control the internet. We cannot control social media. We don't control the mainstream media, and we're contrary to the Trudeau government, who gave more than $500 million to the media before the election. I'm not saying that he is controlling the media, but that can have a huge influence on the media. So we are too busy to speak about what we believe, and we'll use the social media. I can tell you that I'll be more present on social media, on YouTube. I'll do more videos. I'll be there present regularly every week to speak about an issue. And that's our goal. We want to reach more people. I hope that the mainstream media will cover us and will speak about us and will write about us. But if not, I'll be on social media. People will be able to find us, and I'll travel also, meet people all across the country next year. And so we are doing our best to have our message out there, and the more people will be able to listen to us and being in touch with us, I think the better it will be for the party.
Do you think the $600 million Trudeau gave to the mainstream media was an attempt to manipulate them and to get them to ignore the People's Party?
Well, I don't know. It would be difficult for me to say yes to that question. But like I said, that $600 million had an influence on media, on mainstream media. When you receive money like that, I hope that the media use that money to be more independent. But for us, our position on that was very clear. We want the media to be independent from the government, not to be dependent from the government. And Trudeau, with the $600 million, that's what they did. Now the media are dependent on the government. So for us, since the beginning, we said, no fund from the media, and that was a strong position. So that may have an influence during the campaign, but, we don't know.
With establishment control of media in Canada, how do you get the People's Party's message out to voters?
Yeah, like I said, use the social media, be more present, and my goal is to every day to tweet about what's happening in the news. Last week I was in the mainstream media speaking about the leadership of Andrew Scheer and when he resigned. But the goal is to be every day to use the news to push our ideas and to promote our ideas, and we'll see what will happen. But we have to do our best, and we'll see. But up to now, I'm very optimistic that we'll have a better score at the next election.
Do you think the Conservative Party might put feelers out to you about running for leader?
No. First of all, the platform, the People's Party platform, is almost the same one that I did use when I was running for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. We created the People's Party based on that platform and didn't take any ideas, and that's why I quit. I spoke with the establishment of the Conservative Party after the leadership race, and I asked them to take some of our ideas because 49% of the Conservatives voted for that. And they said, no, we won't. and they did it. They didn't take any ideas. They did campaign on a centrist and socialist platform with more deficit, more debts, and all that. It was almost the same as the Liberals, fighting climate change and everything. So, and they know what I believe in. And so I don't think nobody will call me. I don't expect any call. And if somebody is calling me, that would be a very short conversation. No thanks. I'm not going back there. I'm building the future with the People's Party.
Boris Johnson was overwhelmingly re-elected in Britain to move forward with Brexit. A lot of Western Canadians are upset about where Canada is headed under the Trudeau government. Would it be in the West's advantage to separate from Eastern Canada?
No, it won't. It won't. You just need to have a government at the federal level that will respect the Constitution. They're upset because they cannot have pipelines and built in this country. And, that's a federal jurisdiction, 100% federal jurisdiction. So the federal government can be sure that we'll have pipelines in this country by using the Constitution and imposing a pipeline on provinces that don't want any pipeline. So you can do it. You just need to have the courage to do it. And I spoke about it during the election campaign, and that's part of our proposal. And you need to have a political party in Ottawa that will change the equalization formula. That formula is not fair. It's not fair for Quebec, not fair for Western Canada. We need to change the formula. We need to be sure the formula will be less generous. That will give the right incentive to provinces to develop their own natural resources. So, equalization, pipelines, we have the solution. So what I'm telling to people out west, look at our platform, look at our philosophy. We want to respect provincial autonomy, and that's part of the Constitution. And so we're the only party to speak about that. Actually, I delivered a speech in Red Deer maybe a month ago, and that was a conference on the separation. And I said that's not the solution. The solution is to work at the provincial level to be sure that your government at the provincial level will use all the power that they have under the Constitution. And at the federal level, we are the solution for you. We're the only party who's ready. We're the only party that's ready to fight for changing the equalization and pipelines. And so I don't see the separation a solution. The solution is to vote for the People's Party and promote and helping us to promote our ideas.
We'll be doing an interview tomorrow with the founder of Wexit, Peter Downing. Do you have any questions for him?
No, I don't. I don't think that what he's doing will help our country and Western Canadians. He must fight for, like I said, changing the equalization formula and pushing the federal government to use the Constitution to build pipelines. And so I understand the frustration in Western Canada, in Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan. But that's why we have the solution for that. So I hope that, he won't be successful because I'm a federalist and I believe in this country.
We'll have more with Maxime Bernier right after this.
Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Maxime Bernier. Maxime, is the Trudeau government trying to censor free speech in the internet?
Oh my God! I don't think they want to have a discussion about free speech. And at the last session before the election, they had a special committee of members of parliament that want to look at the new regulation to regulate free speech on the internet. We'll see what will happen in a couple of maybe next year. What will happen with that committee? But for me, you don't need more regulation, and I hope that they won't follow that road. But I really don't know. I'm looking at what they did before the election, a committee that was listening everybody, and they had some recommendation to have more regulation on free speech on the internet, and they didn't have time to do that. I hope they won't, but we need to follow that file for sure.
What are the consequences of the loss of freedom of speech?
It's part of our democracy. If you're not able to express what you think, if you're not able to speak about what you think, considering that it may, unplease a person in front of you, that's okay. Free speech is not telling you what you want to hear. It's telling what you believe in, and being polite, being responsible of your words, of your action. But at the end, we need more free speech. That's the basic of our democracy in this country. And, that's protected by our constitution. So, I don't agree with people who are saying that, you cannot say something that will offend somebody. Sorry about that, but that having a discussion, having debates in a society, it's always good. And when you're having a debate, at the end, you have two persons that don't have the same point of view, and that's life. And the best one will win. And so we need more freedom of speech. And it's a shame that we were the People's Party, the only political party with a policy on free speech, and that's part of what we believe in: more freedom and less government.
How can we stop the criminalization of free speech?
By what we're doing right now, speaking about that, and being out there and promoting freedom. And so, we need to be out there loud and speaking about it, and speaking with our politician, and your member of parliament in your riding. You must, if you have something that you don't like about free speech, don't hesitate to go in his office and express your point of view. The more people will know what's happening, and the more people will speak to their members of parliament and try to influence them, telling them that it's important to keep that freedom in this country without any compromise. So that's in the end of us, of Canadians.
We're hearing the government now wants to make a certain percentage of Canadian content mandatory in streaming services like Netflix. Is that necessary?
Well, we have that right now, actually, on the radio station. If you're a radio station in Quebec, you must have a mandatory French song on your radio station. And I know that they're looking at it. we must have a huge debate in that. You cannot pass a new regulation without having a debate about it. People want to protect Canadian culture. We must what is Canadian culture? We must before doing that, my first reaction would be to have a debate about it, have some consultation, looking at if we can do it. But I don't like regulation first. But I understand that if you want to promote your culture or your movies that are Canadians, you may have to do something. But the best thing will be to have a discussion with these corporations first. And so I don't have the solution for that, and I'm ready to look at that debate, and we'll see what will happen.
What type of government is the current Liberal minority? Totalitarian, socialist, whatever?
Well, I think it's a socialist government. They are spending money that they don't have. It is irresponsible for the future generation. And also, they're a government that tried to pander to every special interest group in this country. And they're doing identity politics. And so, for me, it's a big, socialist government.
What is UNDRIP, UNDRIP, and should we care about it?
UN what? Sorry, D?
The UN agreement on Aboriginal rights, nicknamed UNDRIP.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. When I was a conservative and we were in government with Mr. Harper, we had a lot of pressure to sign that treaty, and we said no, because Canada is a sovereign country, and we won't go there. And if you sign that treaty, that will have an impact on the big infrastructure project. If you need every time to have an approval by the First Nation on every project, at the end you won't be able to do anything in this country. So the government is in charge at the end, and the government must decide at the end. So, I'm not in favor to implement that treaty in Canadian law.
Were the voting records of MPs hidden prior to this year's election?
What do you mean, the voting record?
How they voted in the House of Commons.
On which subject?
On any or all.
Oh, but look at, first of all, after the election, we must admit that, the session was very short. It was only 1 week. So, I didn't follow that, but my understanding is, all these political parties, these establishment political parties in this country, believe in a big state, believe in a big government. They voted for the deficit that we have right now. The speech of the throne. That's the direction of the government. And they will have to vote. They didn't vote for that. They will have to vote after Christmas. But I'm sure that it will pass. And so for me, the speech of the throne, if you look at it and read it, it's the government that has a better solution for you than yourself. And, you won't have any huge surprise because the conservative wants to be sure to have the time to have a leadership, convention, and they're not ready for the election. So they will try to be sure that the government stay in power for a couple of months, maybe a year or 2 years. And so they will, and also, if you look at their platform that they had during the campaign, it was almost the same, like the Liberals. So I don't see any big changes, behavior of the MP in Ottawa, right now.
We've heard rumblings of possible election fraud. What have you heard?
I didn't hear anything about that. I was very concentrated to do what we have to do. I think we have a good electoral system in our country, and if you compare with other countries, if somebody has to complain, they can go to Election Canada, and we did it actually with the Kinsella files and and the Conservative when they tried to discredit our political party. We tabled a complaint with Election Canada. And so if people think that there's some corruption or things like that, Election Canada is there, and they will do the investigation.
What do you think is the most important thing for people to know about the People's Party of Canada?
But the most important is to know our 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And we are building our party on these principles, and we are following these principles. So people must know that our party is for a smaller government in Ottawa, a government that will respect the Constitution, that will respect taxpayers, that will lower taxes only after balancing the budget. So, we're very different. We won't work for the establishment. We won't work for the elite. We are working for the people. That's why we call our party the People's Party of Canada. And that's important. If you want to know more, they can do on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca.
Maxime, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I hope I'll be able to speak with you later.
My guest has been Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada, and you can get more information online at peoplespartyofcanada.ca. If you have any questions for Maxime for the next time we interview him, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.